Tin, 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 tin. Guys, well, if the pandemic has taught us anything at all, it's the importance of taking care of yourself, your mind, your body, and your soul. But if you're someone who feels guilty about putting yourself first, we've invited Dr. Susaye Rattigan, clinical psychologist and coach, to explain why self-care isn't selfish but muy importante.
Amen, amen.
Hi, Dr. Susaye Rattigan. How are you? Good morning.
Good
Hi,
morning. I'm
good
doing fine. How are
morning.
you?
I'm
We're
very
Hi.
great.
good. We're good and comfy. We're good
Yes.
and comfy.
I see you.
You're on the go already. Doc, this is so true because we grew up hearing all the time, put others first, yourself second, right? Because
Right.
that's the moral thing to do.
Yeah.
But as the years have passed, we've realized more and more that it's important to make sure that we're good, we're full first before offering ourselves to anybody else. Let's talk about
Right.
the importance of that.
Oh, definitely. I want to start by talking about the common, I say, phrase that people always say that you have to first put your oxygen on before you put on oxygen for someone else. And so Lisa Nichols has this quote that I really like. It says, "I owe it to myself to catch my breath first before I give mine to you." And that's really important because if you don't have your own breath, how can you share with someone else? And a lot of us are running on empty right now. And we have so many people who are asking for our time and for our energy and for our emotions when
Yeah.
we don't have very much to give. And so the guilt really has to take a back seat to taking care of yourself so that you can be of service to those who really need you, especially
But
in this time when everybody needs something.
definitely, Doc. But why do you think that persons tend to feel so guilty about even taking 10 minutes,
Yeah.
15 minutes, even if it's just 20 minutes out of a 24-hour day just to do something for yourself, to replenish yourself and just to get back that strength and that feeling to just be able to go again? Why is it so common that a lot of times persons feel so guilty about that?
Because we've been taught to give to others, and that, as Debbie had said, it's a moral thing, right? So it's been sort of beaten into us that if we are giving to ourselves, then we're taking from someone else, and if we're taking from someone else, then that's selfish and it can't be good, right? But we really need to reframe what it means to be selfish, because what it means to be selfish in terms of self-care,
Yeah.
right? We have to understand that being selfish really does mean taking from someone else, right? It means doing things purely for our benefit. But the reality is that even though when we're taking care of ourselves, we are doing stuff for our benefit, we have to understand that the benefit that we get gets transmitted to those other people who are in our lives. So it never stays with us, right? Because even when we are purely focused on meeting our own needs, that need is something that needs to be filled, right? Because if it's not filled, then we're running on empty. And if we are able to fulfill our needs, then we can be healthier. And if we're healthier, and we're happier. And if we're happier, then that happiness gets transmitted into the things that we do, into how we show up for ourselves, into how we show up for the other people around us.
Definitely,
Yeah,
Doc.
absolutely. So, Doc, break it down for us now. What does self-care usually look like, and what should it look like?
Okay. Well, right now, self-care is a really big buzzword in the world, and it looks like a lot of massages and facials and buying yourself nice things and going out to eat really great food
Yes.
and just laying around when you feel like it. And those things are good. We need that. We need some of that sometimes. But ultimately, there are really more core things, more important things that I consider to be self-care that serve a longer term, right? So I'll give you some examples. All right, mindfulness, the practice of mindfulness. It's very simple. To me, the idea of mindfulness is that you're able to let go of the thoughts and the feelings that show up for you every day, right? So that you can stop reacting negatively to them and be present in your environment. To most people, that's not really self-care, but that's an essential part of maintaining your sense of wholeness and your sense of wellness and balance throughout your day-to-day life. Respecting your body. Eating healthy is a given. Everybody knows about that. But exercise and movement, just moving your body, it sends happy hormones to your brain. right? And again, if you're happier, you're healthier. And if you're healthier, then you're able to meet other people's needs better as well as your own, right? So respecting your body, offering yourself compassion and forgiveness, right? So those are important things. A lot of times we feel guilty too because we're not really good at being compassionate to ourselves. We hold ourselves to really, really stringent and really high standards that are unrealistic. There's no real ceiling to it. And so we have to be able to offer ourselves some grace, to be compassionate and to forgive ourselves as well. That's taking care of yourself. I'll just stop right here for a second to say, think about self-care as self-love in action.
Okay.
Think about it as actionable, practical ways to demonstrate self-love. Okay. Going back, developing long-term plans. A lot of times we're just trying to make it through today. We're trying to make it through this moment. And our brains really need something to focus on long-term so that we can maintain our motivation, so that we can maintain our sense of optimism and positivity. Right? So we do need to develop these long-term plans so we know where we're going and we know what we're working towards and what all of this work is actually for. Right? Getting enough sleep. I cannot say this enough. Sleep is like a miracle. It's a miracle
Boy,
jewel.
that
We
that
need it.
one that one has like Debbie and I like saying, whoa, like as much as it sounds good, is it really practical? You know, is it really
To get enough sleep?
practical?
Well, it's essential because a lack of sleep in a lot of, y'all use kids because it's easiest to see it in them. A lack of sleep looks like ADHD, hyperactivity, difficulty
Anxiety,
focusing,
yeah.
difficulty. Yes, definitely. And so in adults, can you imagine that depletion of restoration, restorative sleep, rest, what it does to our bodies and to our brains? We're not functioning optimally when we're not sleeping.
Wow.
Right? It's our healing time. So it's very important. Okay.
And
What if self-care also looks like acts of kindness? So if you know, giving or doing something for charity makes me feel good, is that also considered to be self-care?
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
If you are giving from a place where you have to give. Right?
Okay,
If you
gotcha.
have it to give, and so I would encourage people that self-care should begin when your cup, I shouldn't say that. Giving should begin when your cup is full.
Full.
It should be given when you have had enough.
So,
Right?
Doc, I have to ask you because a lot of persons probably don't even realize when they really need to take a break and, you know, give themselves some self-care. So probably what are some of the signs that persons can look out for when you really just need to take a moment and just to probably give yourself some self-care to fill back
I'd
your
say irritability is the quickest one, right? When you start to become irritable with other people, you start snapping, you start realizing that you really don't want to be here or you really don't want to hear what people have to say right now. I think that's a good sign. But when I work with clients, I say, before we get there, we have to evaluate what our needs are and know what our particular signs are because they're different for everyone, right? It's an individual journey. And so these signs show up individually. So knowing yourself and understanding at what point you begin to feel out of sorts is a good time to take a rest and to focus on yourself.
Out of sync and that kind of thing. Dr. Rattigan, thank you so much. Debbie looks like she's saying, listen, I need to sleep right now.
I'm gonna get some self-care.
Yeah, she's gonna take some self-care while we're gonna go to a break while Debbie takes some self-care. Dr. Susaye Rattigan, thank you so very much for joining us this morning and dropping those gems about self-care. It's not only about, you know, the physical, but of course, mental and emotional health. Psychologist and coach there, Dr. Rattigan. Thank you so much. Now, one thing Dr. Rattigan didn't have on her list was indulging in a little sweet treat, right? It's highly recommended.
Okay, I'm up. I'm up.
Up next,
I
we'll
wake
get
up.
into some baked goodies from Jamaica. We'll soon come back. You see how fast Debbie wake
Yeah,
up?
I'm about that life.
We'll soon come